Don't touch that dial. We're about to have some fun here. Welcome to Queens Public Library Virtual Storyline. I am your storyteller of the day. I am the chief storyteller, I would argue. I am Queens Senator James Sanders Jr., and today we're going to have some fun. I represent the 10th Senate District in New York State, and it's my pleasure to be here and share this moment with you. We are going to have some fun today. Thank you for joining. If you're interested in finding out other virtual Queens Public Library programs or assessing digital materials, including material on how to get an e-card or how to be counted in this year's census, visit the Queens Public Library website at queenslibrary.org. Did you know that in the last century, nearly 1 million children were not counted? Without an accurate count of children, your community gets less funding, federal funding, for 10 years. And that means they can build fewer resources for children, such as schools and libraries and hospitals. Make sure that your children are counted today. Go to my2020census.gov or call 844-330-2020. My friends, I promised you that we're going to have some fun, and I think that fun should start now. I have a book for you that I want to read to you. Do you mind? How about you, Nia? Do you mind? Brian Jr., do you mind? All right, I'll let you guys make up your minds. Make up your mind. Come on in here. Come a little closer. Let's read together. I want to read to you about a person that the adults call Malcolm X, but in reality, he started out as Malcolm Little. Then he was the boy that grew up to be Malcolm X. And this was written by his daughter, Ilyasha Shabazz. All right. Let's see if we can do this. You ready? I'm ready. I'm excited. I don't know about you. All right, let's see. I'm going to do this so you can see some pictures too. I want you to see the pictures. All right. Malcolm X was one of the most influential men in American history. But before he became Malcolm X, he was Malcolm Little. Malcolm was born on May 19th, 1925, in the small Midwestern town of Omaha, Nebraska. He was born into a tight-knit family with parents that not only encouraged his natural curiosity, but taught him lessons about discipline, fortitude, and self-determination. On another day, you ask the adults what those words mean. How about that? All right. Malcolm's father was Errol Little, but there was nothing little about him. Papa Errol was strong, broad, and a towering man. He was a big guy. His smooth, dark skin was as beautiful as the midnight sky. His voice resounded like gentle thunder whenever he spoke. His protection and guidance stretched up and around his family like the great live oak trees of his home state of Georgia. Anybody ever see a big old oak tree? Try to put your arms around that one. Next time, try that. Malcolm's mother. All right, we'll get there. Malcolm's mother was Louise Norton. Louise was born on the island country of Grenada in the West Indies. Anybody's parents were born in the West Indies? The Caribbean is a better word of calling it. There we go thinking. It was a place known as the Spice Islands, where the sweet smell of nutmeg and coca swirled together in the tropical air. Louise was a bright student who excelled at reading and math. That meant she was smart in math and reading. Anybody out there smart in math and reading? You. I think you're smarter. You're smarter in math and reading. Oh, yes, you are. I can tell. Let's see. She began asking questions at an early age about the mistreatment of people of color in her hometown. After Louise graduated from school, she left to Montreal, Canada to join her uncle Edton, who was a co founder of the Marcus Garvey movement. Followers of Marcus Garvey believe that all humans are created equal. I think we all believe that. We all might be followers. In Montreal, Louise met the giant gentleman named Errol Little. Both of them traveled to Montreal, focused on joining the struggle for freedom and justice. I like freedom and justice. Any of you like freedom and justice? You need to. Ah, this is nice. Earl and Louise were soon married. The happy couple moved to the rural Midwest and became the parents of 7 children. Here's Malcolm's brothers and sisters. You ready? Wilfred, Hilda, Filbert, Malcolm, Reginald, Yvonne, and Wesley. Ooh, it's a mouthful. Earl and Louise cherished their family and instilled in their children values of faith in God and self-love, of honesty and integrity, and of brotherhood and equality. I like all of that. The little children were happy and they romped endlessly around the little home. You want to see children romping? This is what that means. They had pillow fights. They had other fights. They were played a lot. To romp is to play a lot. The children. All right. All right. Don't start romping now. No, that's between you and your parents. No, don't get me into that. Let's see. They romped endlessly around the little house and land in Omaha, Nebraska. Malcolm was the middle child, and well, Malcolm was different. He was full of questions, a natural leader, and a fun loving prankster. Along with his brothers and sisters, he was always up to something. All right. When Malcolm was 4 years old, something horrifying happened that he would never forget. One night, while the little family was sound asleep and the hum of the crickets whistled quietly in the darkness, the loud crackle of a blazing fire awakened them. Terror clutched Malcolm's heart as he realized the blaze was consuming their home. The house was on fire. Oh my. Fortunately, Malcolm and his family escaped the raging inferno. They watched in disbelief as their beloved home burned to the ground. They would later learn that the flames had been set by townspeople who disagreed with their family's belief about universal equality and justice. The fire was a sad sign of ignorance and intolerance. Wow. Do you think that stopped them? I don't think so. But nothing would stop Earl and Louise Little from moving forward. Despite the great loss of their house and all their belongings, they vowed to rebuild their lives armed not with material possessions, but instead with optimism and faith. Optimism means that you have a positive mindset. I'm optimistic. You should be optimistic. Try it. You'll like it. After all, Errol and Louise knew that possessions come and go, but faith, love, and perseverance would sustain them. Errol purchased 6 acres of land in Lansing, Michigan, and set out to build a new home for his family. He will construct it with his own hands from the ground up. Earl built the house nail by nail and brick by brick, only buying a new piece of hardware when he had enough money to pay for it. Papa, Malcolm asked. That's little Malcolm. Yeah, he's asking his father a question. Papa, Malcolm asked, how come we don't have windows in our house? Good question. Earl answered with total confidence. Son, when we can afford the glass, our frames will be filled. He leaned over to look squarely into Malcolm's eyes. There he is, leaning over. All good things begin with a fundamental structure, a good foundation, my friends. From that moment on, whenever Malcolm felt the wind blow through the empty frame, instead of wondering when the glass would come, he would think of his father's unstoppable optimism and faith. That's a lot of faith. That's a lot of optimism. All right. Whoa, what do we got here? There you go. Malcolm's father would preach about faith, self-reliance. Okay, let me get you the words and I will get the pictures. We're going to get our pictures and words together here. I wonder if I read it on this side. Okay. All right. You can see the pictures. I have to keep switching. One side for reading and another side. Well, we'll get it together. Malcolm's father would preach about faith, self-reliance, and hard work to throngs of people gathered at local churches and assemblies. The grown-ups in the audience would listen intently, their eyes fixed on Earl, their ears on his word, their soul on his message. With arms raised high and eyes piercing with sincerity, Earl Little stirred the deepest parts of their being. Malcolm felt the electricity in the room as the dignity and self-respect of those in attendance would steadily rise. That's a grand figure. Isn't that a grand figure? That's quite a person reading. Can you put your hand up like that? How about you? You too. Put your hand up like that. Let me see. Wow. That was pretty good. Maybe they should put you in a book. Maybe. Malcolm felt the electricity in the room as dignity and self-respect of those in attendance would steadily rise. The meetings would charge with the group's collective desire to create their own opportunities and to lead better lives. Malcolm's father reminded them that they were not merely descendants of slaves, but their African ancestors built some of the greatest civilizations ever recorded in history, and that they too could stand together to build a bright future for their children. These were lessons in hope and self-determination that Malcolm would grow to love. Malcolm sat with rapt attention as his father's uplifting message proclaimed freedom, justice, and equality for all. Wow, what great ideas. I like those. All right, wait. Oh, I got to switch to the other side now. All right, here we go. Whoa, there you go. And just as Malcolm found inspiration in his father's speeches at church, he learned some unexpected lessons from his mother's garden at home. That's his mother. That's little Malcolm. Wait a minute, what is this? What is that? What was that? You're right, it's a garden. That's the garden. For Malcolm, the enchanted garden of Louise Norton Little was an entire world of its own, where even the most sluggish of ladybugs and fast scurrying ants were all equally treated like esteemed and welcome guests at the family Sunday brunch. That's kind of nice. Here, savvy spiders crocheted their delicate webs along the foliage. Anybody ever seen a spider make a web? I mean, it's like the Eensy Beansy spider. You remember you forgot. I didn't. But spiders make webs, most of them. Geraniums dotted the fields in the distance with peppy pops of pink and purple as a crisp blue sky and lush green field connected somewhere far out in the horizon. In this sacred garden, beetles hustled about like harried businessmen on their way to important meetings, while snails lolled leisurely as if they were on some kind of half-speed permanent vacation. Anybody ever see how small a snail is and how slow they go? Snails move real slow. They barely move. So that's what he's talking about. Here, Louise taught her children to love every creature equally, large or small, pretty or ugly, busy or still, fast or slow, insect or plant. I think she named them all. The garden was a testament to the true and unconditional brotherhood from the earth up on up to the sky, a daily lesson in acceptance and equality, and a beauty of its own. Well, she named very beautiful things. Through the majestic trees in the garden, Malcolm would also learn about the importance of roots, nature's anchors, the base of every living creature, and through the outspread wings of the chirping birds above, he began to see the power of possibility. Anybody else? I know that you've seen birds fly. Went to the window, you probably see birds fly now, but don't do that now because I'm reading to you. All right. More pictures, but let me see. I'll try to give little at a time. And so this special garden became a source of knowledge, a little family sanctuary where lessons came each day like tiny droplets of sweet morning dew. Because Louise knew that the best way to teach a child was to give him or her a chance. She gave each of her children their very own little spot of land in the garden. Wow. Where they could take care of their designated areas like proud and professional mini farmers. Malcolm and his siblings learned to plant, water, trim, and harvest the crop. Well, you have to do all of that when you have a crop, which in turn planted the seeds for hard work and their sense of self reliance. Self reliance means you depend on yourself. With their shovels and watering pitchers in hand, they nourished their crops and cared for their herbs, fruit, and vegetables as they would for any other living creature. I see them planting. I see herbs and fruit. Wow. Malcolm's favorite vegetable to grow. What do you think Malcolm's favorite vegetable was? All right, I'll tell you. Malcolm's favorite vegetable to grow was peas. He would spend hours in the garden combing through the rows of seedlings and sprouts, his little fingers digging fiercely into the warm earth, making sure Hey, gotta get to this side. There you go. There's Malcolm digging in the groove, happy to be a farmer, making sure there were no earthworms squirming around down there. When his mother later served the fresh peas at the dinner table, Malcolm would flash a big, gratified smile. You know why? Because he helped plant the peas and raise the peas, and they were eating the peas. And this made his family happy and full. One summer day, as Malcolm tended his lot in the garden, out of nowhere, a small flurry of color swept through the air. As he stood up to wipe the August sweat from his forehead, Malcolm saw the colossal intent. Colossal means gigantic. And it was every color of the rainbow. And it flew right by his cheek as if to give him the tiniest kiss. Malcolm had never seen anything so pretty. Its paper thin wings forever winking at the world. Its vibrant colors, each one more beautiful than the next. Do you see that beautiful butterfly, Malcolm? Louise asked her son as the breeze, insects, and flowers also seemed to stop in their tracks to listen to her. Well, believe it or not, there was a time when that butterfly thought of itself as ugly, frightened, and all alone. Hey, isn't there a book like that? There is. You should, that's a good book to read. Maybe you should read it. It had to learn about patience because it had no idea what the future would hold. It had to develop and mature, blossom. And now look at it. It's beautiful, proud, smart, and free. Look how proud Malcolm is. He was real proud. All right, here we go. Switching our place again. Louise always found the time to instill lessons of good morals and values. That's Louise, Malcolm's mother, and she's working with Malcolm and his brothers and sisters. She always found the time to instill lessons good morals and values, even while she was ironing, washing, cooking, and fussing over all seven of her children, while folding fresh laundry. Louise would also unfold a newspaper from another country for her children to read. Wow, anybody ever let you read a newspaper? Try it. A window in the world and a way to connect with the rest of humanity, brothers and sisters across the globe. That was the newspaper that Louise wanted her children to be aware of. She could bake biscuits while discussing philosophy, sweep the floor while reciting poetry, and teach math while pruning the garden. With one hand, she would tend to the linens, and in the other hand, she would open a book, and Malcolm and his siblings would listen on as enthusiastically as she enthusiastically taught them. Oh, I messed that one up. Taught them one of the alphabets of the 5 different languages she spoke fluently. Wow, she spoke not 1, not 2, not 3, not even 4. She spoke 5. There it is. That turned into, oh, either way it's 5. Oh, look at that. 5 different languages. Um, does anybody speak more than one language? How about that? You should learn. It's fun. I speak a little Spanish. Hablo un poquito español, mi amigos y amigas. Ah, eh, I see, I see. All right. Where were we? Okay, 5 different languages. Malcolm especially loved the sounds of the letters in French and hearing the elegantness of this language. Words to him always sounded like they were somehow dressed up. Wow. Imagine if your words got dressed up. Where would they go? Might go to school. But most of all, these lessons in language taught young Malcolm that there was a whole world beyond his noisy chickens and green peas. You see, Louise Little knew the real truth about words. She knew that they were more than just a jumble of letters all lined up in perfect rows. No, no, words are more than that. She showed him the magic within the words. There's magic in words. She knew that each word was also a powerful building block. Wow. A tiny gift of meaning that could bring ideas to life. She taught young Malcolm how to appreciate the dictionary and exposed him to the world of books. In each volume, ideas and inspirations mingled like the savory flavors in a Spice Island stew that Malcolm couldn't wait to taste. Louise knew that words had the power to move people, to make them cry, make them laugh, feel, and think. Words can do that. But most important, she knew that the more words you learned, the better you could communicate and the more in life you could create. She firmly believed that knowledge acquired today would transform itself into wisdom tomorrow. On sunny days after school, when the air was still warm from the day and the chores were done, Malcolm loved to go fishing with his friend Big Boy. Anybody have a friend named Big Boy? Okay. The two of them would stand over the stream like a pair of kings surveying their empire. They stood quietly, eagerly waiting for their fishing lines to move, for even just a hint of a ripple in the stillness of the water. Sometimes they would stand for hours watching the stream as if nothing else mattered. They would scratch their heads and exchange looks that said, what could we be possibly doing wrong? What could they be doing wrong? How about you? Can you tell me? Oh, I'll listen to her. Can she tell me? Say it louder. One more time. Maybe. Maybe you got it. Malcolm would scratch his head, squinting through the sunshine, and mull it over with Big Boy, both of them trying to come up with a better way to catch fish. If you're trying to fish and you're not catching anything, I think that you should think it over. One day on the bridge, While their lines were still, Malcolm felt a rumble in his belly. The thought of the delicious supper that was waiting for him at home crept into his mind. Anybody ever had a delicious meal? Never? Well, let me tell you what's delicious. Freshly baked biscuits, a herb roasted chicken, a bunch of steamed vegetables, and a homemade apple pie with churned vanilla ice cream. I'm getting hungry just thinking about that. I might have to stop and go eat. All right, all right, all right. I'll finish. I'll finish. Um, Malcolm imagined the aromas that would fill the little house after dusk. Then suddenly it hit him. They needed better bait. My friends, if you're not catching fish, you may want to change your bait. That's the stuff you use to get fish. Just like the aroma of dinner brought him and his siblings running to the table, Malcolm and Big Boy needed to lure the fish to come to their lines. Their plastic earthworms weren't cutting it. Why they were using plastic? Sometimes it works. This time it didn't. The next day, just before Malcolm cast his fishing rod into the stream, he pulled out a handful of breadcrumbs from his pocket and hurled them into the water, where they landed like raindrops. Soon enough, tiny bubbles appeared around the crumbs, and just like the little children would come rushing to the dinner table each night, the fish swam around to see what treasures Malcolm and Big Boy had to offer. From that day on, the boys caught big, beautiful fish. But most important, Malcolm learned that observation and effort would combine to create desired results. Look at that fish that Malcolm brought to his family. Now they could have fish. Wasn't that nice? There it is, still dripping wet. Now that's fresh fish. Now, my friends, if you want to read more of this book, you need to get to the library and read it. It is a great book of one of my favorite people. I think that we all should become great readers. Now, I hope that you've loved my reading to you because I certainly have loved reading to you. I'm going to let you finish this book on your time. The book is called Malcolm Little, the boy who grew up to become Malcolm X. Again, my name is State Senator Sanders, and I want to remind you that you can access your ebooks. You can get ebooks, audiobooks, videos, music, and more by going to the Queens Public Library's homepage, queenslibrary.org. There are more and upcoming virtual programs, and you can watch the QPL, the Queens Public Library Facebook page for more information. Uh, I have really enjoyed reading with you. And again, I want you to go to the library. Well, don't go, but ask the library. Maybe you can get this sent to you by this video. But you know what? Get it. If you call the library, they will tell you how to get it. Again, I am Queen Senator James Sanders Jr., and I represent the 10th Senatorial District. It had been a joy reading to you. I really appreciate that you spent a little time with me. And again, Nia, Brian, Khalil, Zalika, Samoy, I hope it, Marvin. I mean, we could go through this. Anne Marie, we could actually go through all of this. I really hope that you've enjoyed it. And I say thank you to you all. And I wish you well. God bless you all. I look forward to your reading, and maybe you can read to me next time. Thank you.